everybody, this is Rose of Sharon, and I'm back again with another book review. I just recently finished Richard Dawkins' Science in the Soul, and it's the selected writings of a passionate rationalist. And I actually really enjoy this book. Of course, a lot of people would find the fact that I actually enjoy Mr. Dawkins to be a bit controversial. At my core, I consider myself a Darwinist and a humanist and rational. But I also think that faith is absolutely necessary, because I don't agree with the whole proponent of the galaxy just coming out of nothing. Well, in Genesis it says, in the beginning, the world was out form and void, and God spoke, and then there was light. So I believe, like the Jews believe, that God spoke it into creation, or if you read the Torah, he sang it into creation. And he talks about the problem with religion, and I agree with his points. They're very well represented. Excuse me, I'm not talking very well. I'm not sure why my tongue is tripping today. But he gives a lot of good evidence as to why religion is a problem. And the most definitive example he has is Northern Ireland versus Southern Ireland, the orange and the green. He has an essay here about subtitles versus dubbing. And I also would like to concur that I find subtitles so much more facilitous. But that's just me. Unless you do a good job with dubbing, which it can be done in this day and age of technology the way it is. And Funimation is a good proponent of that. He speaks of something I never knew of before, and it makes a whole lot more sense when you get around to it. But he talks about geranium oil, and geranium oil actually was the cause of the suicide bombings and a lot of other fanatic. He always uses the word religion, but he's conscientious to know well enough to separate religious people themselves from religious fanaticism, because they're two entirely different things, and I'm happy he does. I'm an apologist, and I have to admit that at times religion gets a bad rap, and yeah, I don't care for dogma, I don't care for fundamentalism. Fanaticism is linked in with fundamentalism. And it's just sad that it has to come to that, but organization is all well and good. You have to have laws in order to decrease anarchy, but people have free will, and they do as they so darn well please. He talks about morality based on religion and that kind of a background, and it's compelling. And it's also very controversial, I do believe. But in light of that, I agree with a lot of the pinpoints that he deliberated upon. Of course, I love this whole expose. He has a lot of exposés here on Darwin himself, which I am a Darwinist, I admit to that. And I respect Darwin, and I believe that Darwinism is a real thing. I believe natural selection is the norm. I think that God created beings to evolve, and it can be seen over a matter of time. I don't think that we descended from monkeys. I think that's ridiculous. That's just one part of natural selection I can't agree with. I just think that's silly. I believe more in Adam and Eve than I do monkeys, just because it makes more sense for us to come from one ancestor. But Shem, Ham, and Japheth were the three that created all the, according to the legend, and I think the legend is true, they created the three divergent races in our in our world as we know them today. There's another essay that I thought was very tongue-in-cheek and quite funny. And he talks about Guy Fawkes Day, and you know, it's no remember the excuse me, I can't talk. I don't know why. Remember the 5th of November, the treason, what was it? The treason, the murder, the treason, the murder, the plot. And there's another. He said he didn't know the whole rhyme. He said everybody in England knows it because Guy Fawkes was planning a coup of the government, and he had tried to assassinate somebody, and the whole idea was said that he was a stark raving lunatic, but they collect pennies for the guy. Well, they don't have pennies for the guy anymore. That was to buy fireworks at the time. And they do have children go around and ask for collections for fireworks, but he said animals that don't have any intelligence or understanding of why we're shooting off these noisemakers, it's just, it's inhumane. And I'd like to think he's right. I'd like to think that he's hit the nail on the head. Another thing is, it's kind of an oxymoron. Well, it is an oxymoron to have a silent noisemaker, although I'm sure somebody is going to invent one. But I think that would be difficult with fireworks because fireworks are meant to make a loud noise. So he talks about kinship in here too. My favorite chapter, other than subbing and dubbing and kinship, and then he spoke of his father and his grandfather and Christopher Hitchens, who was his contemporary. And a lot of people find it controversial that I like a lot of Hitchens' work as well. Because I think that, like Dawkins, he's a very rationally minded man. And I base a lot of what I have on if I don't find evidence toward the fact, unless it's faith, unless it's something that I base upon the fact of the matter that it is unknown. Of course, he goes into that. He says it's like a cop-out. It's a really horrible claim. It's a terrible thing to rely upon, but faith is faith. I mean, you can't really explain it. That's what it is. It's the substance of things unknown, the things yet not seen, according to Scripture. I can't remember what Scripture that is. I know it's New Testament. However, I do go by faith when it comes to matters of the paranormal, although I've experienced a lot of the paranormal myself, so I can guarantee you these things exist. But conventional science doesn't have a way of hypothesizing the unconventional and supernatural as of yet, except they have some things that the Skulls Project are developing, which is frightening to me, just like CERN, what they're doing. They're going into an error arena that they have no idea what they're doing, actually, and they're messing with powers they don't understand or comprehend. It's a sword of Damocles. I'm warning them now, but that's what science is there for. You got to hypothesize. You have to experiment, or you'll never get an answer. And it's okay to be skeptical. It's okay to be doubtful. It's okay to wonder. It's okay to question, because I question everything. My biggest my biggest proponent or idea in this world is why. That's what I always ask. I ask why about everything. He talks about sea turtles and the Galapagos, and how there's a certain breed of turtle that literally breathes through its anus. Or as he said in the book, the Australians would say so eloquently, breathing through its arse. I had to laugh at that. I thought, yeah, that's true. And then well, now what do you want? I can't talk to you right now. I can't talk right now. I'm doing a review later. Call me later. Call me later. Don't call me now. I can't. I gotta look for work. Stop calling me. I'll get you later. Sheesh. Anyway. Sorry that this is interrupting me. And I'm going to turn off my phone, actually. I'm turning off my phone right now. Alright. I don't have to deal with it. Anyways, I'm sorry about that. Going on, he talks about reasonable doubt and the whole system of law. And the system of law is really screwy. He also talks about the poverty line, which I thought was very intriguing. He talked about Mother Teresa. She was actually not a proponent of poverty, but she sought to overcome poverty and to give women liberation from being reduced to just reproductive chattel. I thought, yeah, that's true. She's trying to liberate them from just being seen as reproductive machines and basically nothing more than baby factories, which is really sad. In some countries, that's what women are seen as. Talks about Plato, and that was really fascinating, I thought. And I really think that all of the essays in and of themselves were very intriguing. If you're like me and if you're a big fan of Dawkins' work, then by all means pick it up because it's terrific. I know he probably wouldn't find me to be an intellectual equal because I believe what I believe, and he would say, well, why do you believe what you believe? And I can't provide a substantial answer for that. So I would be considered the dumbest among the dumb, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay if people think that I don't check my brain at the door. These are good, by the way. But that's all I got to say about Science in the Soul. And it's actually not really that large of a book, but the way in which it is written, like other of Dawkins' works, it's very heady stuff. It's very it gives you pension. It gives you something to mull over in your mind. It's very provoking, thought-wise. I can't say that much else about it, but according to what I'm going through right now, it's like I said, you heard me say it. I didn't mean to blurt it out over my friend's call. He was trying to give me a call. And I'll get to him later, but I just, I need to focus more on finding new work at this point in time. And I won't go into the reasons why, because I don't want to stir up any drama here, because that's the last thing I want. This is a place where I want people to come to be inspired and uplifted and encouraged. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Abba's got my back, so yes, I call him Abba. I'm an audacious believer. I am a fool for Christ, and I will not sugarcoat that or tamp that down in any way, shape, or form. It is what that is who I am. I don't really have that much else to say other than I have applied for about 4 or 5 jobs. I'm still waiting to hear a response from any of them. But that's about all I got to say. And until next time, live on, prosper. Ciao, tutti.